Afrika be the glory for the organizing of this important event to mark, to honor the life and the works and the legacy of Baba Amos Wilson. We say again, we continue to pour libation to this awesome, powerful spirit that continues to traverse the universe, searching for vessels, African human vessels, to occupy, to empower, and to continue to direct in the fight for total liberation. We love you, Baba Amos Wilson. To the God of Africa be the glory for being invited to come and share some thoughts with you around such an important, vitally important topic. Is Africa really on the rise? Is Africa really on the rise? Tendai Mwari, on the 17th day of January, as I move into the topic, we must remind ourselves that on this date, in the year so-called 2013, we say 6253. In the year 6253, our beloved Baba and warrior scholar, the foremost scholar at that time, on the life and legacy of the most eminent prophet and king, His Excellency Marcus Mosiah Garvey, we speak of Baba Professor Tony Martin, left our earthly company to ascend into the realm of Mtume, the great ancestors. On this 17th day of the first month, in the year so-called 1961, the corresponding ancient African calendar date is not presently in my mind, so we work with 1961. On the 17th day of the first month, one of the greatest sons of Africa, one of the most powerful spirits to emerge in leadership of an African nation. I speak of Baba Patrice Lumumba, rose up and emerged as the first prime minister of the Congo and spoke out against the vicious, savage history of Belgian rule and domination of the Congo, and made it absolutely clear that we were going to revive ancient African wisdom, ancient African traditions. In the revival, the rescue and reconstruction of the Congo, the minds and the souls of the Africans of the Congo, that the resources of the Congo were going to be submitted to the well-being of the Africans, the indigenous people of the Congo. He called upon our people and said, let us show the world what Africans can do when we work in freedom. He said the Congo was going to be the center of the lights of the sun's radiant light throughout the entire African continent. So he was placing the Congo at the center of a revolution that was about to unfold on the African continent, to lay the foundation for the real rise of Africa and Africans. But he was swiftly removed and brutally and barbarically assassinated. And his body, he was tortured. He was beaten. He was shot. He was stabbed. All of this while he was alive. And after his car separated from his cat. His spirit left his body. They chopped him up, dismembered him, God knows into how many pieces, doused his body in acid. In fact, they buried him, dug him up, and then chopped him up, doused his body in acid. And all that remains of our Baba today is a few gold teeth that his family are still campaigning and demanding must be returned to them. The world must know this. Africans everywhere must know this, and that's why I have to talk about this. We're talking about Africa's rise. And I don't want us, brothers and sisters, to be bamboozled as to what Africa's rise really means and what it would really look like. Today marks, and I believe this is the forces of African spirit that has brought about this occasion on this day, which marks the 60th anniversary, a landmark since the assassination, in the assassination of our great and eminent prophet, warrior, king, Baba Patrice Lumumba. Let us hail him. And very quickly, brothers and sisters, just to mention that in a few days' time, we will also be observing the anniversary of the passing of Baba Amilcar Cabral, who left our earthly company. He was also assassinated on the 20th of January in the year 1973. We must also mention Sylvanus Olympio, who was assassinated on the 13th of January, 13th of the first month in the year 1963, 3 days after he started printing Togo's own currency in defiance of the imposition of the French who imposed the CFA which was pegged to the French franc, so that they could continue to dominate the economies of the so-called Francophone African nations. So let us remember also Sylvanus Olympio, because all of that is fundamentally relevant to our topic this afternoon. And just to let you know, brothers and sisters, I have one of the geniuses of the African world community, unsung genius, who is working with me, a brother by the name of Brother Olatunji Heru, who is a multi-genius in his own right. And if you want to hear from Brother Olatunji, tune in to Africa Speaks with Alkebu-Lan on Galaxy Radio every Monday evening, GalaxyAfiwi.com, every Monday evening. And you will hear our brother, who is our producer for our radio show, but also has been thrusted in the role of presenter because of certain circumstances, within certain internal circumstances. So we hear Brother Olatunji. He's operating my PowerPoint, and so we're going to move forward. So Brother Olatunji, if you could just take us forward to the next slide, please. So, brothers and sisters, as a backdrop to my message, I just want to acknowledge and hail some of the voices that are booming out of the African continent presently, who are defending African integrity, who are defending African right to sovereignty and self-determination, and who are engaged in a range of projects and programs. I'm not going to go into any detail in all of that, brothers and sisters, but please note Mama or Sister Arikana Chimborikwao, Brother PLO Lumumba, Sister Mumbi Sekari, Brother Julius Malema, Sister Afiong Elafiong, Brother Kemi Seba, Sister Malens, Bart Williams, a brother Nana Kofi. I can't see his name at the moment, but Nana Kofi. I couldn't see his name. I was trying to remember it, brothers and sisters. Sorry. And also our beloved brother Maponga Marara of Zimbabwe, Joshua Maponga Marara. Although I want to suggest that when you have a powerful name like Maponga Marara, you probably don't need Joshua. But I don't say that. I'm sure my brother would take that in the spirit that it is meant. We just want to heal them. And there are others, other young brothers and sisters I've come to know about recently. But let us just heal these brothers and sisters. And I would encourage brothers and sisters to go online, go on YouTube, and if you haven't yet, tap into the works of these brothers and sisters, because their pronouncements and their analysis and their work is very, very vital to the real rise, the rescue and reconstruction of Africa, African culture, and African civilization moving forward. Next slide, please, Brother Latunji. Tendai Mwari. And I just want to also, brothers and sisters, I want to highlight some words of wisdom, some traditional words of wisdom, words I am sure that are coming from ancient African kingdoms, but which I was blessed to be nurtured intellectually and spiritually via my brother, Brother Maponga. Brother Maponga teaches us, when the wet wood gets burnt, the dry wood is in trouble. When the wet wood gets burnt, the dry wood is in trouble. Brothers and sisters, you will recognize that this is a metaphor. And so the concern here is not about wet and dry wood. The science, however, is an analogy to reflect on us as African people. We understand that scientifically, it is impossible to burn wet wood. It is impossible to burn wet wood. You can only burn wood when the wood is dry. So what's the relevance of that to us as African people? This is a backdrop now to exploring our subject. Is Africa really on the rise? See, brothers and sisters, there are those among us who call ourselves, or who might be referred to as conscious Africans, pan-africanists, freedom fighters, liberationists, revolutionaries, African-centered, all of these and more. We might be the wet wood among our people, the wet wood. We are the wet wood that is not supposed to get burnt. Only the dry wood can get burnt. But if the wet wood gets burnt, then the dry wood is in trouble. In other words, brothers and sisters, if we allow our African-centered intellect to be burnt away by the European fire of imperialism, then there is no hope for the rest of our people who have not even come into consciousness. Does that make sense, brothers and sisters? I hope it does, because it is very, very crucial. It is very, very vital, because the fire of European imperialism is ablaze across the African continent. In fact, I see a towering inferno of European imperialism across the African continent, and I see some wet wood getting burnt, and I'm worried. Because if the wet wood gets burnt, then the dry wood is in trouble. Our brother also says, when you go hunting with dogs, you entertain them with the bones. I love this one. You entertain them with the bones of the hunt so you can enjoy the meat. When you go hunting with dogs, you entertain them with the bones of the hunt so you can enjoy the meat. I can feel the intellectual energy of our participants now working that one out, and that one should be really, really easy to work out, beloved brothers and sisters. That in this metaphor, We might find that we are equated, brothers and sisters, with the dog. Or we must guard against, as we are being hunted by European imperialism, hunted by, let me say it, Chinese imperialism, hunted by Arabic imperialism, hunted by Indian imperialism, Japanese imperialism, South Korean imperialism, all kinds of imperialism, whether existing imperialism or potential imperialism. We are being hunted and we are being entertained with the bones of the hunt while the imperialists are enjoying the meat. We must be careful that we are not being entertained with the bones of the hunt while the imperialists are enjoying the meat. Let's move on. So is Africa really on the rise? With that backdrop, I want to bring also to the fore of our minds, brothers and sisters. I'm just preparing our minds to make an African-centered analysis of this question. Is Africa really on the rise? I'm just trying to get us in an African-centered frame of thinking, because we must not underestimate, brothers and sisters, the extent to which our minds, our intellect have been dominated by European imperialists, white supremacists. So I'm trying to get us back in that African-centered frame of thinking. So I want to reintroduce us to a concept, a fundamental principle of global geopolitics that every African on the planet must and need to be aware of, especially those of us who regard ourselves or who are regarded to be freedom fighters, revolutionaries, liberationists. That whoever controls Africa rules the world. Whoever controls Africa rules the world. When Britain controlled Africa, Britain ruled the world. America controls Africa today, America rules the world. China has a vision of becoming the #1 economy, the most powerful economy, and the #1 superpower in the world. And China is moving feverishly to take control of the African continent. However it may appear to us, beloved brothers and sisters, that they love us and they're there to help us to develop. They're there to help us to become economically self-determining. That has never ever happened in history, but some of us believe it is possible, even though it's never happened in history. Never happened before. But we believe that the Chinese are here in Africa to empower us, or to enable us to empower ourselves. But let us remember that if Africa controls, if Africans control Africa, or if Africa controls Africa, then Africa will rule the world. Africa will rule the world. Think about that for a moment and then ask yourself, is it in the interests of China, Britain, America, India, and all of these other imperialists or potential imperialist forces, is it in their interest that Africa should control Africa? That Africans should indeed emerge as the real controllers of the African continent, controlling its land, controlling its resources, controlling its industries, controlling its manufacturing, its technological development, its institutions, its legal institutions, its scientific institutions, educational institutions, economic institutions. Is it in their interest? And if we become the controllers of Africa, we automatically become the rulers of the world. Are they prepared to subjugate themselves to African global authority? No, I don't think so. Let's move to the next slide. We ask again, is Africa really rising, brothers and sisters? What is the origin of this notion, this narrative, this myth, as we call it, within the Alkebu-Lan Revivalist movement? And I must bring greetings to everyone on behalf of all the members of the Alkebu-Lan Revivalist movement, if I did not do so explicitly at the beginning of my presentation. This myth originates from the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, the European media. It's channeled through the European media, or the global European mass media, some might say mess media. Africa, and the narrative goes like this, that Africa is the world's fastest growing continent. Over the next decade, its GDP is expected to rise by an average of 6% a year, not least thanks to foreign direct investment. This is a quote from The Economist, and the date is there, brothers and sisters. Opinion polls show that almost 2/3 of Africans think this year will be better than last, to double the European rate. So let's move to the next slide, please. The myth, we must understand that this myth came about on the tail or in the wake of the 2008 financial crisis. And the purpose of this myth was to mobilize a scramble for Africa's resources, or let's say intensify the scramble, mobilize the intensification of Africa's resources, Africa's labor, Africa's markets in the wake of the crisis which had hit the European world very, very hard. Secondly, as a challenge to China's rise on the African continent.
Tenda Mwale family, thank you for watching this video. To watch the entire Blueprint for Black Power Groundation and Nana Amos Wilson Veneration, simply click the link in the video description. The full video contains the keynote addresses from Brother Leader Mbandaka, Is Africa Really Rising?, Dissecting the Propaganda, an in-depth analysis of the mainstream Africa Rising narrative and its implications for the African world. And also the dynamic workshop from Queen TAESE, Educating Our Children. The power is in the activation. This is a practical workshop on how you can develop powerful and effective home and community education systems where you are right now. The full stream is housed on abibitomitv.com. Abibitomi TV is an online portal specializing in powerful Black African-centered visual content. So check it out, support the thing, and enjoy the full Blueprint for Black Power Groundation and Nana Amos Wilson Veneration. Abibi Fahodie.